I do think that this might be one of the most special videos I have made yet. It is not only a refashion challenge, a zero waste refashion challenge, more on that in a minute, but it is also a collaboration where I've teamed up with a good friend of mine, Miss Matti, and we have both challenged ourselves to take a men's shirt, boring men's thrifted shirt, and actually refashion it all using every last little scrap and refashion it into something really creative that we can wear. We have both made this challenge. So in this video, I'm going to show you the process of how I created this garment and of course, how Miss Matti made hers too. So let's get into it. This is going to be such an exciting video. Not only is this a fun refashion, but it's also a collaboration. I know, and we're going to do the same refashion using the same rules. I'm so excited. So it will really be about showcasing how, like, creativeness, following the same rules, the same design principles, what we could both do, and seeing two unique designs from that. So excited. First of all, let me introduce you to Matilda, aka Miss Matti. Hi Matilda, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here and about this refashion that we have planned.
Yes, Evelyn, I'm so excited for this refashion as well. I really think we will push ourselves creatively this time.
I agree. Matilda, for everyone that doesn't know you yet, could you just maybe give us a little quick introduction on who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So my name is Matilda, and like Evelyn, I'm also a fashion designer, but I focused a lot more on knitwear, although I like to sew as well. And I have a YouTube channel called Miss Matti, where I share a lot about sewing, knitting, mending, refashioning, and generally how to live an awesome and sustainable life. Evelyn, are you able to introduce yourself to my audience for the people who might not know you?
Yes, of course. Well, my name is Evelyn Wood and I started out as a fashion designer and creating my own label, but I've turned to teaching sewing and I teach at vintagesewingschool.com. It's my online sewing school where I teach lots of people how to sew, and here on YouTube as well. I think my focus is really on the skills of sewing, so learning and really understanding what we're doing in sewing so you can really then create what you want, not just copying things. I think that's my favorite thing to do.
That's awesome. So shall we talk about the rules of this challenge?
Yes, I think that we should. Okay, so the rules of the challenge, we're starting with a men's shirt. So we're going to use a thrifted men's shirt to start with. And we have decided that this will be a zero waste refashion. So hashtag refashion it all. So we have to use 100% of the shirt. Now, to be kind to ourselves, shall we say that small slithers of fabric or unpicked threads, this sort of thing don't really count. We're going to not be nitpicky about the use 100%.
I agree fully, and no need to use the care labels and the labels in the garments. We'll put in our own for that instead.
That's right. It's our own refashion creation from here. Exactly. Absolutely. And do you think that I think we should allow maybe 20% other materials to use, like bias binding, lace, trims, just to be able to create a design? Yes?
I agree, but let's make sure that it's stuff that we have in our stash already and things that we are thrifted.
I agree. So, absolutely. Yes. Secondhand, salvaged items only.
Let's make it as sustainable as possible if we're going to make it zero waste, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so excited. Have you already thought about a few design inspirations? What are you thinking?
Thinking of making some like big sleeves, maybe something with a collar. I looked at a lot of fun designs with like tux pleats, and one Danish designer called Cecilia Benson who does a lot of fabric manipulation, so I've been very inspired by her designs. So we'll see what we'll create.
Yes. I'm thinking maybe a 3/4 sleeve, and I'm thinking of turning it into a peplum. So I have a few ideas running around, but I definitely need to look through my stash and see men's shirts and evolve my design as I go along. It's the usual process for a refashion.
Oh, totally. I have 4 thrifted shirts. I'm definitely going to pick one of them, and we'll see how it's gonna turn out.
Great. Well, it sounds like you're ready to go. Yeah. So shall we get into sewing, and we'll meet back at the end. And I've so excited to see what you come up with and see what we both come up with under the same design principles, but completely different designs.
I agree. Like, yeah, I'm also super excited to see how this turns out for both of us, and I'm really looking forward to see how it turns out. So I'll see you back later.
Yes, happy sewing.
You too.
Okay, so I'm very excited, but I'm kind of a little bit scared about this refashion. We have to use all of the shirt? That's really restrictive. I mean, I'm going to have to get really creative. Let's talk about what I am inspired by so far. So I have just a little cocktail napkin drawing here. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to cut off the neckline, use a 3/4 sleeve. I might use the cuffs there, I might not. And then I'm going to try some little sort of like peplum type number as well through here, creating a waist. So it turns out I actually had a lot of great men's shirts in my stash that I've just been waiting for a great refashion. I went through and I've pulled out the contenders that I think will work for this project, and I've had to have a long, hard think about some either blue and white stripes. You know, I love that sort of thing. This one here, this beautiful linen, and really focus on the design with a plain fabric like this in a block color. Or I have this black and white number. It's actually like a textured fabric, you can see here. So I actually think I'm going to go with this one that will suit the design I'm thinking, because it's not too busy, but I think the ideas I have for using up all of the bits of fabric in a more decorative manner, don't want to give it away yet, will work with this. So I think this is my starting one. What I'm thinking here is this is going to be really tricky. So as I'm making my plan of attack for this refashion, I'm making a few considerations. I need to think about whatever I cut off, I need to use somewhere. So that's a big factor in what I'm thinking about, both design-wise and how to use it later in. And as I said, I have a tricky little thought for that. I'm going to work with maybe using, leaving this as is. I believe this shirt fits me pretty well, so it shouldn't cause any problems. And as I said, perhaps using the collar somehow as like a little like belt type thing. I'll work on that as I go through and start constructing. So I think my first port of call will be actually to cut around the neckline and create this and basically deconstruct so I have all of the bits and pieces that I'll need to work with. If I get the basic shape first and then work on how I'll use all of the extra pieces I've cut off for design elements. Let's keep going on the basic shape. I'll actually cut my sleeves to 3/4 length. For the waistline seam, I actually put some pins in place first to try it on to make sure that that was my waistline front and back before I cut it. I'm going to go ahead and finish the neckline with a bias facing immediately so it doesn't stretch out of shape as I'm trying this on later. Bias facings are one of my favorite finishings for refashions because they're so versatile. You can use it on anything, and I'm counting the binding as some of my 20% portion of extra material used in this zero waste refashion. Look at this. One of the pitfalls of using vintage and secondhand trims is sometimes you get things like this. There's a little like hole in the edge of the binding I didn't notice until now. I'm going to go ahead and just keep using it and cross my fingers that it won't fray out or cause me any troubles in the meantime. Okay, a little check-in. I have finished my neckline. I'm quite happy with that. And I have cut sleeves and cut hem. Now, I'm keeping a pile of all of the bits that I still need to use, don't worry. So the lower half will be used as the little peplum, so I'll put that aside, that's already sort of allocated. The collar, I'll come back to when I get to the hemline because I have some sort of fancy peplum thing in mind for that. But I think what I'm first going to work on is the sleeves because, well, to use these cuffs, I think the best way to use them is to use them still as is. So either as a cuff or sewn on in a decorative manner or something, but you can't really cut this up very easily and use it separately. So what I'm going to do is actually unpick the cuff and see how it works on the existing like hemline here of the sleeve and see if I can get it to work, if it actually fits my arm or not, being up higher. Did you know what the little red ball is for on your unpick or your seam ripper? Well, I have a video that will explain just that and how you can maybe save some time unpicking in the future. Oh my goodness. I had the worst nail job ever. I'm never going back to that nail salon ever. Look at this. Look at this. They butchered my nails. Okay, I'm going to fix these later today. Rest in peace, little nail. Rest in peace. So I figured out how I want to finish this cuff. I'm going to have it kind of sandwiched in. I've opened up the cuff. The fabric for the garment is coming in, and I'm just going to top stitch this down on top and then fold over the cuff up the top. And of course there is this little section in here that is not big enough to fit in the cuff, so I'm just going to, I've stay stitched and made some nicks in the fabric, so I'm going to turn this up and I'll actually finish that another way with probably some binding to finish that edge off. This is really tricky to pin. I've just gathered in the fullness so I get that sort of puffy kind of look. Work on getting the bulk of the pins in there first, because then it's much easier to come back after and actually then perfect and get it to sit right. And this is a very good case in point, because I have to kind of get it mostly kind of pinned before I can come back and even try and make this actually perfect. So that's the method in my madness. Okay, I feel like we're making some major progress now. The neckline's done, these cuffs are pretty much done. Now I'm trying to whittle it down further and further, using all the fabric I have and kind of creating the design as I go. Let me show you what I'm thinking, because now I'm at the next stage of this design. So we're looking good, as I said. I like these cuffs, but now I'm really focused on working on this. So I have this collar to use. Remember, this is a zero waste refashion, so I have to use everything, and I have these to use. So I'm kind of slowly whittling away at this. Here's what I'm thinking now. I'm thinking this collar will make a little belt type number, like peplum belt sort of thing, like this. So I'm going to gather in this so it fits nice and peplum like. And then if I can create a little belt out of this, how cute, right? And just create the little peplum. So then I'm thinking with these, what am I going to do with these sleeve cuffs? My original idea was to cut out maybe embroidery shapes or applique and actually applique onto here, but I think I have a few different ideas maybe with these. That was my first idea. The other idea is to actually add this onto the back and add actually this way, but on the back of the garment, and have these under like this and have these little tails of the peplum, hem them and everything. But I don't know how it will look. I think I would need to make all this first and see how they look. But then I also played around and thought maybe this would make a really cute little pocket up here. Imagine some kind of little cute pocket, and have to go this way, on the peplum. Maybe it could be like this. So I'm unsure, and I know I will need to first of all make this belt, because it will help do this, and pin in and at least pin this together so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to unpick these little parts around the collar, and from the cuffs I will actually cut out some little strips to make some ties. I'll simply unpick the top stitching on the collar and then insert it in my little ties to create the belt. And obviously I have those little scraps left to deal with as well. And then I really want to at least pin in and fit this top, this peplum to the top, so I can see what I'm looking at and actually put it on. Then I can decide what will happen with the rest of the fabric I have. So what I've decided to do is I will measure and pin all in the bodice and stitch actually all of these down properly first. And then I'm going to come back and deal with this. Okay, so actual reality, this is sitting on me and it looks like this because it's a man's shirt and I don't have this much shoulders. So what I'm going to do is actually try and pinch out these V's, these pleats, and sort of sit them as, because I've already sewn it already, and just actually pin them all down so they almost come back up to the yoke, and then pin it like top stitch down. I'll pin it and try it on and see how it all fits, and hopefully that should fix the problem of this giant shoulder issue. how I'm navigating putting on this peplum is I'm kind of going to have to mold it and make it fit and make it look good. So I'm actually going to just like drape this on. I have actually, you can tell, created the pleats in the center back here. I'm just going to drape and pin this in place as needed because I kind of just have to work it out. For instance, where are these pleats going to go to make this peplum nice? Okay, I'm going to keep working on this and pin and tweet, and then I'm also going to kind of put together this band, my belt, so to say, so I can try it all on together and see how these last bits of fabric are going to be incorporated into the design, because I still have these to deal with. What do you think? It's like shake your tail feather. So how I am going to finish the edges of these little peplum sections is I think I'm just going to echo the hem that is already on here and do a little double turnover, the same size as this, just so it like replicates itself and it will just look quite natural being repeated. Definitely going to take off this button though. Okay, so this is where, at least for me, zero waste becomes a bit, at what point do you sacrifice your design for zero waste? I've got my waist seam here, and because I have curved it to create shape and a peplum, of course I'm going to need to trim this, otherwise it will just not work. There's too much seam here. So with zero waste, you generally can only really work with rectangles, putting them together to cut, but to create fitted and shaped garments, you need to like cut out and create shapes. And then you're always going to be left with tiny little slithers even. So I will figure out how to use that slither later. I'm going to go with it because I want the shape of this garment. So next port of call, trimming and binding this seam. We're getting so close to finishing. I've just been playing around with this little collar belt, and I think I actually had it pinned around and sort of stuck in place, but I think actually folding it over entirely and having like little wings like this, I think that looks better at the back. Yeah, so I'm just going to adjust the belt to be like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew this belt and then to deal with this. This is all of the scraps that I have left over. I have some buttons, tiny little slithers, the clothing labels. Oops, there's another button. So I kept everything here, all the slithers. I have 4 buttons, which I think I should use on here somewhere. The clothing labels which stand out and some bigger pieces here. Now, trying to keep this true to zero waste. Where do we draw the line? So we had said that little slithers and things like that don't count because we're not being nitty picky here. So I'm thinking all these tiny little, just like, I'm going to leave these and call this a day. These ones, however, I feel like I could and should potentially use these somehow, and the buttons. But really at this point, I think that I could, you know, call it a day on this because I have used minimal waste, maybe not zero waste. But in the essence of our challenge, what my idea is, I'm going to incorporate these buttons in somehow, and I'm going to actually make some little, well, they won't actually be buttons, but I'm going to cover them. So I'm going to make little circle puffs as kind of like little covered button looking things, and I'm going to stuff them with the fabric. So I'm going to make some decorative, you know, applique, essentially some 3D applique, and put these on at some little points. So I'm thinking where the buttonholes are here, probably on the back, but this applique is my secret way that I had in mind to actually use up all the zero waste items for this refashion. It's a little sneaky. Okay, so believe it or not, I was able to use all of those scraps. Yes, that is my fingernail that also got left behind on this project. The only thing left is this. I managed to stuff everything inside these little pillows. These are going to be my little like faux button type decorations. This is the entirety of everything I have left. That's it. I can't believe this. Okay, I am almost done, so I will show you how this has ended up. And of course, I am dying to see what Matilda has created with her refashion as well, because this was really challenging. I think this is actually one of my most favorite refashions. I can't believe it. I was a little bit of trepidation about having to use all of everything of the refashion. My first idea was to construct the garment and do more applique design with the scraps left over, but then it sort of evolved and I was really surprised by how much little scraps are needed to actually fill these little faux buttons, and I think these turned out wonderful. It is beautiful on the inside as it is outside. With the Hong Kong binding was a really great choice, so it looks really special on the inside and out, so it makes me really happy. I probably wouldn't have used these secondary tails on the back if it wasn't a zero waste refashion, and might have made the belt a little bit less obvious that it was a collar had I not been restricted with those, but all in all, I'm really happy, and I will definitely be wearing this one because it is really comfortable as it is.
The shirt that I decided to refashion was this plaid shirt. I had so much fun trying to use all of the shirt. I tried to use my cut-off fabric to create bigger sleeves as well as a gathered trim. I also used gathers and tucks to create fun and interesting details in my shirt. If you want to see the whole process on how this was made, come on over to my YouTube channel, Miss Matti, and I hope you will also try out your own Refashion It All challenge.
Oh my goodness, didn't she do an amazing job? I mean, those frills. Okay, I'm going to have to go watch the whole proper video of this process. I've left links down below, so go please do show Miss Matti some love and watch her video on how she managed to refashion a men's shirt using everything as well. It's so creative. Don't leave yet though, because we have a challenge for you. If you would like to try this use it all refashion, then use the hashtag refashionitall and show us your own creative ideas on how you can refashion something using it all. I really look forward to seeing your own makes because it is so inspiring to see how you might use that too. Leave me a comment below on how you found this refashion and what you might do to use it all. Your best tips, always appreciated. And until next time, my sewing friends, happy sewing. Bye.